Did you know that the stories behind Disney's most famous cartoons weren't created by them? In fact, many of them have their origins in ancient tales, and what's most surprising is that the original stories don't always have happy endings. Get ready to discover the 10 real stories behind the Disney tales. The original narrative of Cinderella, as recorded by the Brothers Grimm, differs significantly from Disney's charming and optimistic version. In the Grimm's version, the story reveals dark nuances that were softened for children. In the original plot, one of Cinderella's sisters, passionately wanting to fit into the glass slipper, takes extreme measures, cutting off part of her own foot. The shoes, when put on by her, fill with blood, shocking the prince with the macabre discovery. This cruel twist reveals the sister's desperate attempt to win over the prince, even at the cost of her own flesh. Furthermore, the Grimm version does not feature the classic figure of the fairy godmother. Instead, Cinderella plants a tree on her mother's grave and prays over it daily. This darker element highlights the character's loneliness and desperate need for supernatural help. Another striking difference is the absence of a single dance. In the original version, there are 3. Cinderella's stepsisters, in an extreme act, have their eyes pecked out and gouged out by birds as punishment for their cruelty. These details reveal the unforgiving, gothic nature of the original tale, providing a richer, more complex perspective on the story of Cinderella. The Grimm's version highlights that fairy tales were not initially intended just for children, but rather for an adult audience, exploring dark themes and more intense moral lessons. The original version of the tale, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, by the Brothers Grimm is notably darker and more complex than Disney's adorable adaptation. The evil stepmother, instead of simply ordering the huntsman to kill Snow White, demands macabre proof of her death. She requests that the hunter bring the princess's lungs and liver as evidence, adding a grotesque element to the story. In an even more sinister twist, the stepmother tries to kill Snow White 3 times in the original version. In the third attempt, involving the famous poisoned apple, the princess faints, and a piece of the apple stuck in her throat is expelled during transport to the castle. This scene reveals the true reason for Snow White's fainting, highlighting the wicked queen's wickedness. Additionally, Snow White's stepsisters receive brutal punishment in the original version. They have their eyes pecked out and gouged out by birds as a result of their wickedness. These cruel punishments add a layer of horror to the narrative, moving considerably away from the softer, friendlier image presented by Disney. These macabre and more complex elements of the Grimm's version reveal that fairy tales were, in their origins, intended to convey intense and, at times, frightening moral messages. The original version of Snow White provides a fascinating and sometimes chilling insight into the richness of traditional fairy tales. The original narrative of Pinocchio, by Carlo Collodi, features a protagonist very different from Disney's cheerful and innocent version. Pinocchio, in the original story, is initially portrayed as an extremely mischievous and selfish wooden doll. As soon as he learns to walk, he runs away from home, beginning a series of adventures filled with bad decisions. In a surprising turn of events, Pinocchio is accused of mistreating Geppetto, his creator, and is brought to justice by the police. This more complex plot adds nuances to the protagonist's personality, highlighting his imperfections and moral challenges. Additionally, Geppetto is swallowed by a shark, not a whale, in the original version, intensifying the danger surrounding Pinocchio. During his journey, Pinocchio encounters a fox and a mouse, who deceive him and steal the money he earned selling books. These characters add layers of betrayal and manipulation to the story, revealing darker aspects of human nature. Collodi's version includes an episode where Pinocchio faces a terrifying Kasam, a giant shark, highlighting the dangers faced by the mischievous puppet. Only after going through countless trials and troubles does Pinocchio, in the original story, mature and redeem himself, finally becoming a real boy. This journey of self-discovery and redemption provides a more complex and realistic view of the character, enriching the narrative richness of the classic tale. The original Legend of Mulan, in Chinese culture, presents a notably more tragic and dark narrative compared to Disney's animated version. After returning from the war, Mulan discovers that her village has been destroyed, her family exterminated, and your home reduced to rubble. The tragic consequence of his choice to take on a man's role in war is painfully revealed. In the original version, instead of a happy ending, Mulan finds her village devastated and her family decimated, due to the discovery of her true identity. The Chinese narrative highlights the harsh social realities of the time, where a woman defying expectations faced serious consequences. Additionally, the original story takes Mulan on an even more desolate journey. Faced with the destruction of her home, her only option to survive is to become a prostitute. This dramatic development highlights the adversities faced by Mulan after the war, providing a deeper and more tragic context for the character. The original Chinese legend thus does not offer the typical happy ending. Instead, Mulan, after facing countless tragedies, chooses the tragic path of suicide. This conclusion, while heartbreaking, adds a layer of complexity and realism to the story, highlighting the painful consequences of Mulan's choices in a broader cultural and historical context. This tragic version resonates with more adult themes and highlights the nuances of the original Chinese legend. These real stories behind Disney tales are fascinating, aren't they? If you liked these revelations, share them with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more intriguing content like this.